I made it. I made it. I made it, bro. I'm at 100 days clean, 100 days sober, bro. You know how much weed I've had in the last 100 days? Boom! I made it, man. And I want to give you guys an update. I want this to be a motivation for whoever's looking to stop smoking weed, stop vaping, stop smoking cigarettes. Because I'm here to tell you, I was living that life, bro, and now I'm free, 100 days clean, bro. So I'm gonna give you some of the benefits that I experienced in my journey of being free for 100 days of weed. And so the first thing I really experienced, right, is I had this experience of an increase of drive and motivation to go after my goals. You know, beginning of 2025, I enrolled into university, and it was hard for me to get the marks that I knew that I wanted, because I was somebody that was always smoking weed, and smoking weed kind of reduced my motivation, my drive to get things done. Instead of doing my work, I would be like, man, I'll just take a smoke break, you know. Instead of studying for my test, I'd end up smoking. And so what ended up happening is my motivation, my drive to get things done started to decrease. And so my consumption of weed increased, whereas my ability to get work done decreased. And so my motivation was at an all-time low. I wasn't even getting in the gym, I wasn't working out, I wasn't eating clean, because I just had no motivation to. And so when I finally decided to start smoking weed, what ended up the reason why the motivation came back is because of how weed works with your dopamine system, and how it works with your cannabinoid systems. Now I'm not gonna get too much into that because that's a whole separate video. But essentially, when I stopped getting the same reaction in my brain from weed, and it allowed me to start seeking for pleasure, for reward from other things. So that's why my drive and my motivation increased. Now, obviously, you have to channel that in the certain direction you want so that you can begin to achieve your goals. But essentially, that was the first thing that I really started to experience. And the second thing I really started to experience is this deep, how should I say this ability to be more emotionally in control, this ability to be more emotionally intelligent. And what that looks like, right, is, so when I was upset, I used to smoke weed. When I was depressed, I used to smoke weed. When I was very happy, I used to smoke weed. And so it kind of took away this ability for me to deal with my own emotions without smoking weed. And it leads to a false sense of dealing with your emotions, because you think just because you smoke weed, you're not actually sad anymore, for example, especially when it comes to the dark emotions, right? You think because you're smoking weed, you don't feel as sad anymore. So it's not something that really needs to be addressed. It's not something that really you need to think about and, you know, get through. And so when I stopped smoking weed, bro, every time I got upset, every time life didn't go my way, I had to learn how to deal with that and how to deal with those emotions and how to not let them affect me and affect my health in a negative way, right? But then also on top of that, when I stopped smoking weed, right, and I had to learn how to do these stuff, the what ended up happening was that I was able to then get through my tough times and deal with my negative emotions in a way that I find closure and resolution, and wounds are not left unattended, right? Where infections can happen. And so basically, I developed this sense of I can now fully control and fully deal with my emotions. And that leads me to tip number three, man. Uh, Not tip number three, but it leads me to the third benefit that I basically ended up experiencing, which was an increase in confidence. You know, when you know you're not supposed to be doing something and you end up doing it, it kind of decreases your confidence, bro. When you know that you're supposed to be a healthy version, a peak, top peak version of yourself, and then you don't do that, it lowers your confidence. When there's this gap between who you're supposed to be and who you are today, and you are keeping on moving further away from the person you're supposed to be, what ends up happening is your confidence starts to go down. And your confidence goes down because of how your self image works, right? Your self evaluation, how you evaluate yourself, right? Are you a good person, bad person, lazy person, disciplined person? And so my confidence started to go up when I started smoking weed, because I started to associate myself with being healthy. I started to associate myself with being disciplined, with being good at managing my own emotions, right? I started to associate myself with having motivation to go after my goals. And so my confidence started to increase, and my ability to talk to different people, my ability to flipping start a YouTube channel and teach, my ability to be a social creature improved because I had more confidence. And so that was the third benefit that I experienced on this 100-day journey, bro. The fourth benefit that I experienced really, I would say, is I experienced this increased energy throughout the entire day. And this is a weird tip, right? It's not a weird, sorry, this is a weird, I'm so used to making tips, bro. This is a weird benefit that I experienced from stopping to smoke weed, right? It's like, what do you mean you experienced energy throughout the whole day? And what that means is I went through this phase, right, where I just had enough energy to be awake, to be active from 7 in the morning when I was up to 10 to 10 p.m. when I was asleep. Now with weed, right, what ends up happening is you end up getting into this slow, lethargic state. Like if you're watching this video and you know what smoking weed is like, you know that you get high and you're high, and then there's this little crash that happens where you just have no energy and you don't feel like getting anything done. You don't feel like doing anything. You just want to lie on your bed and lounge around, whether you smoke sativa, indica, whatever it is, bro. There's always that crash that ends up happening. And so with me, when I decided to stop smoking, that crash, you no longer have that opportunity, right? I never had that opportunity for that crash. So I was able to then go throughout my day with full on energy and get my day and conquer my day, bro. You know what I mean? I was about to say get my day started, but basically conquer my day. And so then the fourth benefit that I actually experienced, the fourth benefit that I actually experienced after all these, right, is I had better sleep, bro. And I know it seems weird, right? Like better sleep, bro. What do you mean? When I smoke weed, I sleep amazing. Without weed, I can't sleep. So let me tell you how this works, right? To a certain degree, when you smoke weed, especially closer to the times when you go to bed, it increases the amount of time that you spend within deep sleep. Now, as somebody, as a general human being, as a good, healthy human being, you need to have a moment of time when you're dreaming, right? And that stage of sleep is basically called rapid eye movement sleep. And so when you're sleeping and you're supposed to be dreaming, smoking weed before sleeping ends up making the duration of your deep sleep stage to take longer. You enter four stages of sleep when you're asleep. There's four stages of sleep when you're asleep. So when you're supposed to be in REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, and when you're supposed to be dreaming, and your brain is supposed to be improving memory and all these sorts of benefits that come with REM stage sleep, you're still in deep sleep. And guess what? You might end up waking up in a deep sleep mode. All I'm saying is, even if you don't wake up in a deep sleep mode and you feel like you had a full night's rest, what ends up happening is in the times when you're supposed to be having rapid eye movement sleep, you're still in deep sleep. And guess how long you need to take before weed stops affecting your sleep within the day? You need to stop smoking several hours before you go to bed. Now that's crazy because many people smoke in the afternoon, after work, after school. So hey yo, 7 hours is a lot, bro. So I'm telling you, if you smoke weed, bro, I can guarantee you've experienced poor quality sleep. You think that, oh, I sleep and I get knocked out. Nah, bro, I'm telling you right now, it actually lowers your sleep quality. So with me, I experienced better sleep when I stopped smoking. In a sense that I could then dream more. I felt more energized when I woke up. I felt more refreshed when I woke up. There's times when you smoke weed and you wake up and you're just still like lethargic and tired, even though you know it's time to wake up. I experienced this refreshingness. And I'm telling you, bro, sometimes I don't even sleep 8 hours. I'm somebody who has to sleep 8 hours. Now, I don't even sleep 8 hours every day, but when I sleep 4 or 5 hours, I still wake up with a sense of being refreshed. But when I used to smoke weed, there was no way I was gonna wake up after 4 hours feeling refreshed. No way, no way. The last benefit I have really experienced from this 100 days of smoking weed is that I became a morning person, bro. Now, what does that even mean? Why are you even telling me about being a morning person as a benefit of smoking weed? Like I said, link you to the previous tip, right? Because now I'm better to have more refreshed sleep. I actually wake up early in the morning because my body doesn't need to be sleeping for as long because I'm not in deep sleep for as long because weed is forcing your body to be in deep sleep. So with me, I experienced the sense of being a morning person that I could wake up earlier and my sleep cycle, my sleeping, my going to sleep and my waking up was way, way more consistent. The rhythm that I had, this routine that I had of going to sleep and waking up around the same times, it just became more consistent, it became more solid. And so, I basically became somebody who became a morning person. I think the last benefit actually that I have in my mind right now is the way that I eat started to change after I stopped smoking weed. I no more had to eat as much food, you know what I mean? And you might think, how is that a benefit? Well, I mean, if you live in college dormitories like me, or you live on for your own paycheck, you buy your own food. So if you finish all the food and you don't have money, guess what? You're gonna be hungry. So I was somebody who used to eat a lot of food, and so when I started smoking weed, although I still ate a lot of food, I just ate less foods, like less amounts in terms of less frequently throughout the day. So I wasn't randomly just hungry every 2 hours, because of my body. It just goes back to how weed works with your brain. And we can talk about that in another video. But I wanted this to be a motivation for you guys, whoever's starting to try and go 90 days, 100 days, man, 30 days, man, without smoking, without weed. And hopefully this motivates you, man. In my other video just now, I spoke about confidence, and this links to confidence. This can help build your confidence. So check that video out if you haven't checked it out already, man. But hey, man, have a good one, bro.